Hey guys, welcome back. This is Dental Unfiltered. I'm Matt Brown. I'm here with my normal co-host, Dr. Andrew Vallo. Today we have an awesome episode. It's kind of Andrew's checklists for success. Um, you know, these kinds of things are really important. One thing that happens in dental practices is we go, that team member has 10 years experience. That one has 15 years experience. That one has 20 years experience. We go, we don't need to manage or control or create structure for these people. They've been doing it long enough. They know what they're doing. The reality is, no matter what your experience level or skill level is, you need direction and guidance and some form of structure to have success on a consistency from your leadership. And this is something, that I became really comfortable with in the military. I spent 7 years in our special operations community in the form of a paratrooper and a long range surveillance guy. And whenever we would go out and do something, we would have packing checklist, jump checklist. We would have our actual equipment check we did in the airplane before we exited. And it just creates security in your head of like, I did it, I know it's done, all things are handled. And what it really fends off is it fends off really bad catastrophes and problems that snowball down the road. So, Andrew, I know checklists and checks and balances and structure is the only way you can run an organization that has grown aggressively as you have grown over the last 2 years. Like, there's no way you do, 2 years, 4 or 5 multi-million dollar practices now go into like 6 or 7. There's no way you really do it without something like this in place on many different levels. So, first, what tell me your view on these checklists and how you kind of came up with them, or like what is the mission for you on these checklists that you use in your practices?
Yeah. Hey guys. So, it wasn't always this way. So I've spoken before about how in the beginning for me as an entrepreneur, my main goal was always growth. So I was not very focused on systems. I was kind of flying by the seat of my pants. And because of that, there was a lot of inconsistencies in my practice. And even as I grew to a second location, there's a lot of inconsistencies. As you can kind of do okay, especially when things are smaller, without having as many systems in place. I still don't recommend it. If I could go back in time, I would have worked harder on my systems earlier on. But I will tell you, as you grow, whether it's one location that gets bigger and bigger or it's multi-location, those small problems caused by lack of systems, breakdown of systems, they amplify. They get bigger.
They pile up.
With the size group I have now and how we continue to grow, if I didn't start to get my systems in check, I would be in trouble. And so that was again one of the main focuses when I joined my dental mastermind group that I'm in, DSI, was figuring out how to get more systematized. And I honestly, I used to think checklists were kind of silly. I really did. I thought they were unnecessary. I thought they were kind of stupid. I thought we were all adults and we can just do our jobs and,
No.
that's it. I honestly felt weird asking my team to fill out these checklists every day. And so I resisted it for a while. Then we kind of tried it, but I didn't really enforce it and it kind of fizzled out. And then finally, over the last year or so, I realized, and again, if I would have taken advice from some of my mentors earlier on, I probably would have realized it sooner, but I realized how important they were. So guys, checklists are very important for your dental practice. That's the only way to ensure that things are consistently getting done the way that they're supposed to be done. It's the only way to make sure that balls aren't being dropped, things aren't being forgotten. Dentistry is a busy profession. So, in your office, everyone is flying around, like a bumblebee just all day long, going back and forth, dealing with this patient, that patient, this phone call, this insurance verification, this treatment plan. It's really hard with the number of tasks that, especially that your front office has, for them to just, without anything in writing, just make sure mentally that they get everything done that they're supposed to do. So I will say we started with a kind of dental assistant checklist, and I didn't really have a hand in creating that. My assistants worked with my office managers to create that. And it was kind of more simple things, making sure instruments sterilization happened at the end of the day, so it didn't come in the morning and have a pile of stuff they had to sterilize. Shutting off the air and vac, super important. Pre-setting up rooms for the next day. I mean, you get it. Pretty typical dental assistant stuff. And I think those are some of the most common checklists out there, are those back office checklists. But what we've really implemented more recently, which I think are having even more impact, are some of the front office checklists. So we started with a treatment coordinator checklist. So this one's a little different. It's not your typical checklist, but basically my treatment coordinators at the end of each day, they've got to fill out a sheet, and it basically just has 2 columns with a line down the center. On the left column, it's every patient that made a deposit for treatment. So basically every patient they presented treatment to that made a deposit. And then on the right side of the sheet is every patient they presented treatment to that did not make a deposit. And the ones that did not make a deposit, they usually put some little blurb about why, they're calling back tomorrow. They're coming back for a second financial consultation with their spouse. They left a credit card, but they don't want us to charge it until next week. And so basically, until the money's collected, they go on the right side of the sheet. Now, everyone well, I guess, so first of all, at the bottom of the sheet, they sign it. One of my offices has 2 treatment coordinators, so I want a different sheet from each one. And then they also put the percentage of patients they presented treatment to and that accepted treatment. So if there was 5 on the left side and 5 on the right side, they had 5 patients accept treatment out of 10 total patients. That was a 50% acceptance rate.
This is really a sales sheet.
It is, yeah. And so now the other cool thing is the patients that go on the right side of the sheet that did not leave a deposit that day, they now go into they have 222 spreadsheets. So we believe in the 222 follow-up system. You follow up with the patient 2 days after their appointment, and then again 2 weeks, and then again 2 months. So, it makes it very easy for them to make sure they don't forget who they need to add to this 222 spreadsheet, because they just go down the list with everyone on the right side and add them to that spreadsheet. And then they also have lists, each week for who they're supposed to follow up with from their spreadsheet. So we've got it very granular as far as how that follow-up process should work for all our treatment coordinators. Now they send their daily deposit sheets, they scan them, they send them to the office manager, the operations manager, and myself. So every day I get a couple different emails from our different treatment coordinators, and I get to do a very quick look to see how successful we were that day at presenting treatment.
Can I ask you a quick question about that? Let me know if you're Andrew. So, you run a small group you've built. So every day, with the close of business, definitively how many dollars in new business or treatment was closed that day.
It doesn't have a dollar amount. It's just
just patience.
It's just patients. So it's the number of patients that so that's my main focus. And I tell my treatment coordinators this, you may present a large treatment plan where the patient needs a lot of work, and they may not be able to commit to doing it all right then. And that's fine. The goal is collect something, have them schedule something. Because if they leave that day without putting any money down or scheduling any treatment, it is a lot more difficult to then follow up and get them to commit to treatment. So, again, my focus is not on the total dollar amount that was accepted. My focus is on how many patients accepted something that day. That's what I'm really measuring. So, this is a great kind of system with these quote unquote checklists for our treatment coordinators. It has definitely improved our treatment acceptance since we implemented it. It's helped with the follow-up process. And it also helps our treatment coordinators hold themselves accountable, because every day they've got to calculate their percentage of, because think about it. If you're a treatment coordinator and you're just going through your day, trying to close cases, blah, 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 and you like close a big case and you're really excited about it. And you're like, hey, I had a great day. I closed this big treatment. But you're like not really thinking about all the patients that didn't accept treatment, and you don't really have any idea what percentage it was. Every single day they have to sit down, fill out the sheet, and calculate the percentage of people that said yes to them. That's a great way to hold them accountable, to make sure that they are, analyzing their performance and that they're doing everything they can to, improve their acceptance rates. If they try something different one day and all of a sudden they have a higher acceptance rate, they can really measure that in real time. So, it's all about numbers, it's all about data, it's all about KPIs. And I think this is really, really important for us. Um, the other thing, this was even more recent, we implemented it. So, I have expectations for my front office team as far as we have like protocols for patient communication and the schedule and, all this stuff. But they have all these protocols. They didn't have a checklist. And I realized that a lot of the stuff that were in the protocols just really weren't getting done on a consistent basis. So I sat down from all of our different protocols and all the things I thought were most important, and I created a front office checklist. And the way this checklist works, anybody on the team can do it, each task. They initial next to the task that they completed, and then the office manager, and she does some of the tasks herself, but the office manager then audits the checklist at the end of the day, signs off on it that everything has been completed, and then again scans and sends it to our operations manager and myself. So every day we get these emails with the front office checklist. And I have one right in front of me just because I knew I was going to forget some of the important stuff on there. So the checklist has 8 items. First item is all late patients were called, voicemail was left, and flexed within 7 minutes of their appointment time. So basically, one of our protocols is if a patient is running late, somebody needs to pick up the phone and try to call them. And I realized this really wasn't happening. So now this is one of the things that, is on their checklist so that everyone is more focused on. They have to watch the schedule. If someone is late, somebody picks up the phone, they call them. If they don't get a hold of them, they leave a voicemail. And then they also send them a text message basically saying like, hey, I noticed are running late for your appointment. Are you on your way? We can still see you if you're running late. And they kind of end the message with I really don't want you to get charged the no-show fee. So they kind of remind the patient we have a cancellation no-show policy. There's going to be a fee if they don't show up. And, there's a number of people that then respond to that. Oh, I was stuck in traffic. I can still make it. Or, oh, I forgot. Can I still come now? Or even like I got stuck in a meeting. Do you have anything, later today? So like, we'll work with people. We'll fit them in later in the day and waive cancellation fees and all that stuff. But that's the first thing on the list. The second thing is that emails in our call center log are responded to and cleared in the morning and afternoon. So basically, in the morning when everyone gets there, one of the first things that should be done, our office emails are checked and responded to. And we have a call center where basically if they can't help a patient with something, they leave us a message in the log, and then we're supposed to call the patient back. So they clear that in the morning, and they clear that again in the evening before they leave. Our Energize marketing calendars checked and consults scheduled. So, Energize schedules all these great consults for us, but we have to actually add them to Open Dental. It takes a couple minutes, but like my team is supposed to be checking that daily. It doesn't always happen. So it's another box that they'll check off for us. Keep up with Flex messages throughout the day. So Flex is our patient communication software. Our offices are busy. We get a ton of these Flexes coming in. And if our team if they do not have it open, they're not on top of it. Like next thing you know, we could have like 50 of these messages that haven't been answered for the last 2 hours. So that's on their checklist to keep up with that. And then again, to clear it before the end of the day. Each patient is asked to leave a review at checkout. So we have our review policies and protocols. This is just a good reminder that whoever is checking the patient out is supposed to ask them, how was your visit today? And then go through the process of asking them to leave us a Google review. All no-shows are sent a flex from the doctor before the end of the day. So basically, if they were running late, they were already called, voicemail, flexed earlier about running late for their appointment. But then at the end of the day, if they never responded, they're sent another text from the doctor, just basically being like, hey, this is Dr. Vallo. I wanted to personally follow up. And I saw that you weren't able to make your appointment today. I want to help you get you rescheduled. These are my next available appointments this day at this time, or this day at this time, what works best. Unconfirmed patients for the next 2 business days are called and left a voicemail, and then follow up with all patients that left without a cleaning scheduled. So basically, we've got systems in place where we're shooting for like 95% now pre-appointment for hygiene. The hygienists are supposed to schedule that in the operatory before the patients walk up front. But if they don't, we've got router slips. The front should know that they weren't scheduled for their next hygiene. The front kind of gives another attempt. But then the next day, we've got a list of all the patients who we were not able to schedule in the office. Maybe things were hectic. Maybe the patient was in a really big hurry and they're like, you know what, I can't do this right now. I got to make this appointment. And then the front team is supposed to then follow up with those patients. Hey, like, now that you've got some time, can we get you rescheduled for your next, or can we get you scheduled for your next cleaning appointment? Our schedule gets busy really fast, and I don't want it to get booked up and you not have a space for your cleaning. I also don't want you to not have any of your ideal times available, so let's get you scheduled. So that's like our last check and balance in the process to try to get our hygiene reappointment up to that 95% mark. So again, anyone in the office can complete this checklist. They initial next to each item that they do. Office manager audits it, signs it, and sends it to us. Ever since we instituted these front office checklists, we've had such an incredible increase in consistency of all these important tasks being done on a daily basis.
Hey, like consistency of success comes from structures like this. And like in the end, in the beginning, you had apprehension, like, oh, I don't know if I should do this. Guys, you know, industry standard doesn't mean industry right. And just because somebody's been doing something 15 years doesn't mean they're good at it. I get this argument all the time, I'll be honest, with office managers who will say, well, I've been doing this 20 years, and what you're telling me is completely different than what I've been doing. Well, you can do something for 20 years or 15 years and be mediocre at it. The real reality is Dr. Vallo hires really good people, but then with systems and processes and structure like this, he amplifies the consistency of them being awesome. He as a leader brings up their level of how effective they are for the business by creating these structures and tools. So Andrew made a really important statement earlier, and I kind of want to clarify how I feel about it. He said, dentistry is a very busy profession or busy job or busy business. I think the real statement is not energized. I'm sorry. Dental is a very busy business or a busy profession. I think the real statement isn't busy. I think dental is a very detail heavy business. Like insurance processing, very detail heavy. Patient follow up, rescheduling, very detail heavy. Crazy stuff like testing the sanitation equipment for spores, very detail heavy. Everything from back to front in this business is unique in the way that it is all very detail heavy. And part of the problem is we get lost in the minutia of all the detail, and the checklists become the place where these things get prioritized and get executed. And it takes that detail heavy confusion and kind of overwhelming anxiety and brings it to a manageable place where not just you, but you and your staff now can actually amplify or multiply your effectiveness at getting through this detail heavy day that your profession is built for you, because insurance processing to reappointment to sanitation equipment, it's all really detail heavy. And this kind of clarifies that.
Well, yeah, I mean, think about it when you're in the middle of a busy day and you've got a million things swimming around in your brain. Like, honestly, I don't think it's that my team members didn't want to complete the tasks they were supposed to do. Honestly, I think things just get overlooked, when you've got so much going on. So this gives them, it's a one-page document. It's a very succinct, you know, very quick list of the things that are like the really important things that are supposed to be done every single day. And again, could I have made 3 pages of this? Are there other tasks they're doing that they should be doing every day? Yes. But like, you got to kind of pick and choose, because if I give someone a 3-page checklist, it dilutes things. It makes it a little bit more ridiculous to do. So you got to pick in your mind, what are the most important things that get overlooked the most often that we got to make sure, are being done every single day, and kind of boil it down to that for your checklist. It also adds accountability. So, when you don't have things like this, it's hard to have accountability for things. So again, people initial by what they do. Same with the assistant checklist. So if the office manager goes to audit and something wasn't actually done, they know who to go talk to and be like, hey, you initialed this. Why did you initial it if this wasn't done? Did you not realize this part didn't happen or whatever? So it does add accountability for the team as well. The other thing I will say, as I've come around a checklist, again, I used to think they were silly. I didn't want to make my team do them. I didn't want to do them. Now that I have an executive assistant, I get a daily checklist in my email every single morning. So, I get back I go to the gym 5 a.m. I get back. I've got it in my inbox, ready to go, my daily checklist. So when I sit down, I've got a very clear view of the most important things for my day. And I can kind of take a minute and strategize and be like, okay, what on this list is going to require the most creative input that maybe I should do earlier in the day while my brain is fresh? And which of these things are more busy work that maybe I could do a little bit later in the day? Or which of these things are things that I don't really have to do myself, so I'm going to delegate it to somebody else. So, I think it's important for everyone in the organization, dental assistants, hygienists, front office teams. We've got a checklist for our virtual assistants. So, anyone who wonders how to best utilize a virtual assistant, kind of like very similar to the front office checklist. They're doing a lot of similar stuff there, but they've got their own checklist that they're supposed to complete every single day, sign off on, email to our office manager, and then she's holding our virtual assistant accountable. But they're important for you too, especially if you're stepping back clinically some. If you really are taking on the role of CEO, business owner, you've got a lot of non-clinical tasks that you got to do every single week. So whether it's you putting together your checklist, or it's somebody else like an executive assistant, or it's your office manager, have your own checklist put together. And that's a really great way for you to strategize and plan out your admin days as far as what you need to get done.
I think maybe the term checklist also puts like a negative, weird connotation on it. I mean, I think it's really like your daily guide on the effectiveness of what you're doing. It's just your tasks focused that are critical in order. I think I believe in checklists. I do the same thing you do. My assistant Carlin, she gets me a checklist every day of things I need to handle and do. She puts it in my Slack channel, and I work through it and do it. So, guys, embracing structure in the practice will create consistency of the effectiveness of your team, right? So all the time, I'll be on a call with a dentist, and they'll say something like, "I just can't get my team members to do this," or "I just can't get them to be good at this," or "Where can you hire good, effective team members?" I think part of what we have to look at is, are you giving them the tools to be effective? Are you getting the most out of your team members? And this is one really good tool that focuses them on the critical things that to you as a business owner are important, that get done on a daily basis or whatever increment it needs to be done on, right? So it's, you can say these things. My question back to you is, one, have you invested in your staff? Two, are you giving them the tools for success? And three, are you guiding them and are you coaching them to where you need them to be? Because if you think you're going to hire somebody and just because they have a good resume and 15 years of experience, you can check that off the list, you're completely flawed in your thinking. Everyone needs solid leadership and tools to be effective, like Andrew's talking about in tasks and checklists. That structure is critical.
Yeah. So, Matt, I think this was a nice, to the point, quick episode. I think that's where I want to
Yep.
wrap up. I don't have a whole lot more to talk about with checklists. If you're not using checklists, guys, I would strongly suggest you sit down and start creating some. You can work with your teams, to figure out what the most important things are. I'm sure I could post a copy of, at least our front office checklist for you guys, or maybe the virtual system one if you want to see that. So we can maybe get that in the resources section. As always, I hope you got something beneficial from this episode. I hope information is valuable for you. Guys, if you do enjoy the podcast, Matt and I always appreciate reaching out to us, let us know, leave a review, share it with your friends. It's really been fun to watch our podcast pick up momentum. It's really cool to go to different dental events and meet new dentists who have been listening to the podcast. So, again, if you see us somewhere, don't be afraid to come up and say hi. We love to hear feedback about it. And that, like we always say, we're putting this content out there for you guys. We still don't have any sponsors. We're not making any money from the podcast. We're just doing it to try to help pay it forward and help you guys realize the full potential that's out there for your practice. So hope you guys enjoyed. Hope you have a great rest of your day, and look forward to sharing our next episode with you guys.
Hey guys, please like, subscribe, follow, share as much as you can, guys. They said me and Andrew don't sell sponsorships. We really do it for the feedback and for the community. So please, guys, like, subscribe, follow, share. Hey guys, have a great day. Thank you so much.